can you see this person's perspective, but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
We ain't in no victim mindset, except when you talk about the little things that cause us issues
and perspective.
They say don't sweat the small stuff. It's all small stuff. But yeah, that's what we sweat, is we sweat the small stuff.
The question is why? Why do we sweat the small stuff? And the other part of that is we identify ourselves so much with that stuff, you know, the small stuff and the large stuff. And we're so much more than how we identify ourselves. So, you know.
I know. And some examples of the big stuff now, and I'm going to get this text that I get these great texts from Teri, and this is our show prep. Just out of the blue. So often we define who we are by the big things in life, such as career, being an alcoholic, a survivor, surviving something very traumatic, failed relationships, widowed, etc. But a million little quirky things make us just as much who we are as the big things. And I thought, yeah, mine was career.
Total disclosure. Yeah, mine was momhood. And total disclosure, I was having a conversation outside of set with one of our listeners, Elizabeth, and that topic came up. And we were talking about the quirky things that we do as individuals and how we are so much more than the label that we give ourselves: mom, divorcee, widower, workaholic, alcoholic, worrier. You know, there's so much more pleasant, cute, sweet quirkiness about us that doesn't make us, but adds to the beauty of who we are.
More than a label. Except I will take this one from Tim. Hey there, my gorgeous ladies. I will be your gorgeous lady. Yes.
Well, yes, of course we'll take that.
And speaking of Elizabeth, here she is.
There she is. Yes.
Good to have it. It's our group that meets every Wednesday. Sorry, we're just a little bit behind the 8 ball. Had a little issue that threw me a little late today, but okay, Joe Rucker. So this time of year, us parents worried sweat over Christmas, making sure we have what we think is enough for our kids and family in terms of gifts and time. It's such a stressful time for many of us. Oh, isn't that true?
It is. There are so many unspoken obligations and expectations tucked away in 'tis the season that we oftentimes get lost in really sinking into the beauty of all that is because of all that we think we need to do. But what we have to remember, and this was a challenging reminder, like a big stamp on the forehead for me, was because I used to go over the top on the holidays. Like, I'm talking.
Well, you go over the top on Halloween. I've just been looking at the pictures of you and Callie through the years at Halloween. Oh my gosh. So
well, right or wrong, I used to say Martha Stewart ain't got nothing on me but a felony. But hey, I'm hoping to keep it that way. And no judgment about people that got felonies. I love a lot of them. So I've worked with a lot of folks. But you know, there's that expectation of we need to get it right. We need to do it right. We need to make sure that they're happy. But most of the time, and if we even reflect on our own adulthood, the times that we share with people, we tend to find that joy. It's found in those moments shared more than the price tag or the size of the gift.
Amen. One of the things that in my family, and speaking of that little thing, is I find that a family conversation comes into, hey, you know what? I had an idea. Let's decide this year, instead of worrying about gifts and things like that, let's create like an activity. And every person gives somebody an activity that we can all do together, whether it's, playing a game together, and you buy a game for the family or whatever, something that brings people in and say, look, you're the most important person in my life. I want to do this. Sometimes the gift of one's self is pretty incredible. And Candy just joined us as well.
I would go so far as to say we would just X out that sometimes, because all the time the gift of our full present self in our healthy version is a gift to other people.
Right. You're right. And just starting with a family conversation, Joe, you might even want to bring your family in and say, hey, Alicia, let's try something different. We all get really stressed, because I guarantee you kids are as stressed as we are about doing it. And especially if there's, and in blended families, it becomes that thing of, well, what did they give you? What did you do? And it's all that stuff. So maybe a family discussion and say, hey, why don't we try something different this year? It may work, may not. Depends on if they're little kids, that may not, because they always want, something big and bombastic, because Santa Claus is very important. But older kids, have the conversation.
Well, the other part, absolutely. And the other part of that is that we have to remember, just like we teach people how to treat us, we're teaching our children. And again, this comes from first person perspective when I would go over the top, because you would think I had 12 kids and I only had one. So that tells you how over the top I went. But I was unconsciously teaching her that that's what she needed to do in order to make sure everybody was taken care of. So I had to put a pin in that and reframe that real quick. So yes, that's just my 2 cents on that one. But
Elizabeth, our family swaps names each year for the adults, has a $25 gift limit, and we just enjoy the kids. See, that's nice. Yeah. There were a lot of Christmases that my parents got me something or gave me something. And I know my dad sweated the gifts, but I don't remember really a gift that was bought for me too much as a kid. But I have this little shelf that my dad made for my books. He made it with his own hands. That's the only thing that I still have, I think, that was ever gifted to me. And I've carried that little bookshelf to New York. I carried it to 5 or 6 houses in Nashville area. And that little bookshelf, because he made it, means more than anything I've ever had. So, long-term plan, the small stuff. Don't go crazy over the Christmas things. Joyce just joined. I think swapping name thing is good. Kids get way too much to even appreciate it. Well, true. That does happen. Teri was in agreement with you about having your best healthy self to share.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. It is a precious gift. And I will tell you, Joe Rucker, you are a handy dandy dad. And I know that those babies would love. They love the fact that you are a present dad, not a bad dad who buys presents. So that's really, really important. Other little things that come up when something makes you late. Might be struggling with that today a little.
No, not you, Devon. No.
It's little stuff, Shiite, as they would say, that comes up, and it's like, it was just perfect. And then how do you keep the little things from waylaying you?
I tell folks, and I practice this, perspective. When I found out we were going to be a few minutes late today, I shot a message off to one of our listeners, because I know that they speak with a lot of our listeners. And I just said, hey, we're going to be running a few minutes late today. So rather than sweat that and be like, because see, that's that unspoken expectation. Oh my gosh, got to be on time. Because if I'm not on time, what will they think? Well, they'll think you're late. That's what they'll think. We conjure up all that other stuff in our head.
Truth.
Truth.
Candy shares. Last year, my daughter decided she didn't want a gift from me anymore. She wanted me to pitch in to help with a family in need instead. So I did, and she's already picked out a family for this year for us to give to. Is that not the coolest idea ever?
It's beautiful. Yeah.
Life pops up sometimes. Yes. And Tim, I always struggle with being 5 or 10 minutes late. Candy always like, y'all my people. Y'all my people.
Well, so Tim, just for clarity, you don't struggle with that.
You're doing just fine with it.
Because you're doing just fine with it.
I've learned can't sweat the small Shiite. Y'all know where that came from. My little sister who was on Murphy Brown, Faith Ford, one of the lines, my favorite line, she looks over to producer, the actor who played Miles, and said, Miles, how do you say this word? Shiite. Whew. Wow, that could have been bad. So it's always that for me. So I hope that doesn't offend anybody. I know it has a religious connotation, but I don't know. I'm Baptist, so I don't know. Anyway, our son, Susan Sizemore, who joined us. Hi, Susan. Our son started experiential gifts a year or so ago, and it's a great way to ensure we get together throughout the year. That's a nice way. We did a painting class. It was so fun to do together. Joyce, I've been trying to do the breathing thing y'all told us to do about when I'm stressing.
There you go.
Reiterate that, Teri. Reiterate that. What is the breathing thing?
There's a couple of techniques. One of them is 6-6-12, which is inhale in to the count of 6, hold that breath to the count of 6, exhale out to the count of 12, and repeat that in cycles of 3. So 6-6-12, 6-6-12, 6-6-12 is 1. So you would do that a total of 9 times or 3 cycles. The other is inhale into the count of 4, exhale out to the count of 4. Both of these circulate or recirculate oxygen through your lungs, your diaphragm. They also reoxygenate the capillaries in your brain. They also increase the circulation over your body or throughout your body. And they begin to regulate your dopamine, cortisols, and serotonins. And when those dopamine, cortisol, and serotonin are in a battle with one another, we are what's called deregulated, which means we are not at our best self. So we can feel anxious. We can feel, a little anxiety. We can feel those things. When we're oxygenated fully, and our brain, our capillaries in our brain are oxygenated fully, anxiety it's held at bay. Worry is typically held at bay a little. So it's a good practice not to do just when you're beginning to feel anxious, but also multiple times a day. Put it in your phone, put it on a Post-it note.
6-6-12. I love. Candy says, I've been doing the 4-4-8 breathing. Same thing. That breathing works so well. Good.
And here's the thing, we're breathing already. I have people tell me all the time, I don't have time to do that breathing. And I'm like, what do you mean? You're breathing already. You're either breathing in a cadence that supports your overall well-being, or you're breathing in a cadence that supports your deregulation. You get to choose. And if you choose to be deregulated, then, well, that's on you.
Say lay people are usually ones that are fitting everything in. Yes. And Joe, I don't care about gifts as an adult. Just cook me something. I love that. That's good. What are some other tools to look at creating a more dimensional us? Changing the labels on us instead of, the barren old maid, which is what I usually refer to myself as,
Well, first we have to look at why that label matters to us. Like, where did it come from? And many, many times we get our label cloak at some point in life. Oh, they're such a good little girl, or oh, they're such a big helper little boy. And then, and while that's true, and I'm not trying to PC this segment, but I mean, while that's true, a lot of times we teach our little ones to be older than they actually are. So we grow up trying to we grow up trying to still fill those shoes of being the people pleaser, the caretaker, the fixer, the doer, I've got the broad shoulders. Broad shoulders still carry the weight of pain, and that pain seeps in.
Ooh.
So doesn't matter if you're a male, female, does not matter. We all experience loss and pain. And no matter how broad our shoulders are, that pain will seep in. So knowing, if someone says, "Oh my gosh, I'm just a procrastinator." Why do you call yourself a procrastinator? First. Secondly, is that something you want to change? If it's not, then accept it, embrace it, and be accountable for it when it is affecting other people around you. Like if you're a procrastinator and you're working somewhere and you're 20 minutes late all the time, there's a consequence to that. If you're a procrastinator, and you show up late, 20, 30 minutes late to family functions and they're waiting on you, well, you got to look at why you do that. A lot of times people do it for the very reason of unintentionally getting in trouble. We show up late, "Oh, sorry, I'm running late, no big deal." And then people are like, "Oh, they're never on time. I just can't do anything right." Well, you could have shown up on time. Just saying.
Candy, I'm a modern elder, not an old lady. Oh, that's the old thing. It really
like
gets
that.
my goat. I do too. I like that. Changing the whole thought processes. Yes, I've earned my stripes of wisdom. I have earned that. And wisdom is a good thing to carry. And the old title, not so much. Sometimes we fall into something.
Yeah. And oftentimes we hear people, they'll say, "Well, tell me about yourself." And what do we do automatically? Well, if someone said that to me, and this would not be my answer, but this is, for example, well, I'm a grief and loss specialist, and I am a massage therapist, and I'm a mom, and those are parts of who I am. But what am I? I'm a kind human being. I'm trustworthy. I'm lovable. Truly, it's getting into those, because when we hear, especially our little kids, and Joe talking about his children, when our little ones hear us talking about wonderful things like that about ourselves, it's not egotistical. We're actually teaching them that it's okay. It's okay to be that special too, And so we identify so much with, some people will say, "What's the hardest part of your life?" And we'll be quick to throw out something, but it's really assessing and looking at why that label is so important to us. Why is it important to lead with, "Well, I've been divorced," or, "Well, I got this shirt at Goodwill," or, why is that important?
Oh yeah, you're so right. There's so many times somebody will give a compliment, and I've caught myself, "What? This whole thing? Oh, I got this at the Goodwill. I didn't even pay $2 for this. Can you believe that?" Because I'm excited about the bargain, but what I have done was I took their compliment and thrown it back at them. "Oh, what are you talking about? This is nothing," And it's important that we allow ourselves to receive.
Absolutely, because we deflect if we don't, right? "I like your blouse. Oh, this whole thing, God, I've had it forever, blah, 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 blah." We've just completely took their compliment and said, "You don't even know what you're talking about." And now I'm going to deflect that, because that is like, mace in my eyeballs. I can't take that compliment. So learning
Mace
how
in my eyeballs. I love it.
Learning how to just embrace that and just simply say, "Thank you. I appreciate that."
My daughter was always late for Thanksgiving every year. After I had cooked for days, I kind of confronted her one year and said, "You do not appreciate that I cook for days, and you are late every year." Felt about it later, but she's never been late anymore.
So there you go, Joyce. That's one of those uncomfortable conversations, hard conversations that you have to have sometimes. I'm feeling kind of sideways about this because I've put a lot of love and attention into this to make it right and perfect for you, and it doesn't feel like you appreciate it. So what's going on there? And letting them, sometimes really all it is bringing that issue into the crosshairs and shining the light on it. And then people go, oh, I didn't even know that that mattered, had no idea. And a lot of times we can be very aware human beings, and then sometimes we can be incredibly unaware. And we function in that doing, going, being thing where we are oftentimes just not plugged in to the effort and the energy that another person, is putting out there, so
A lot of times the conversations, we will keep resentment silent in our bodies and not tell them. And they don't even realize that they have stepped on something, caused an issue. They don't even know that we mind that they're late. That we don't even know. It's what's mom, Oh, I'll just get there when I get there. Candy, you devalued yourself and their compliment. That's very true. Elizabeth, good point. We have been taught that self-deprecation is showing our morality rather than our ego. Ooh, that's good, but it's not.
Right. It is absolutely okay to accept compliments, to give compliments, and to feel good about those compliments that you receive.
The older I get, Joe says, the more I realize how much I have to learn. The difference is now I'm not afraid of that realization. When I was younger, I would have simply ignored or dismissed it. I guess that may be what wisdom is, learning that you have a lot more to learn. Ooh, that's brilliance right there, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Ooh, that's really, really good.
And the beautiful thing about that is when we get cozy with the fact that we've got more to learn, it doesn't make us feel bad. We actually get kind of excited about it. Mm-hmm. Like I love learning. I love learning when I meet people that are different from me, that have different values or different beliefs or different backgrounds. To me, there is such a gift in evolving as a human being. Because I mean, I know that, we don't always, but most of us work really hard at being, trying to be aware of, how we're showing up. But man, you got one life to live. And if you can, I want to evolve I want to evolve until like all the springs fly off. Like I just want to, I don't even know what I want to learn. I just know I want to learn it. I want to experience and learn it.
When we stop being open to learning something new, or if learning something new makes us uncomfortable, that's when our days are numbered. Or our days are all numbered, but that's when it just changes. Everything changes.
Well, and a part about that, one of the handicaps that happen to people a lot of times when it comes to even learning, even expanding and growing in life, it's more of a mental cap than a physical thing, is when we are around people, whether they're family or friends, that say, well, you're never going to amount to anything. That's never going to go anywhere. You can't do that. You're not good at math. Are you ever going to get that? I mean, even from a very young age, we grow up going, wow, maybe I can't. And we don't even know what we can't do. We just know we can't.
Right. Mm-hmm. That thing where I see people doing this when they are confronted with technology and they are of a certain age. Oh, I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about that. Don't know anything about that. Don't want to know anything about that. Not yet. Well, that really negates us from expansion into life. Okay, we're not stupid. We can all learn how to use new technology, so to speak. Technology is not scary. I mean, I'm sure the first time that a guy drove up next to a horse and buggy with a contraption that was loud, that made noise but had wheels, and it ran with gasoline, I'm sure that scared the heck out of people and go, I don't know anything about technology, not going to do it. I'm going to ride my horse and buggy to California. You keep it. The first time somebody got in an airplane and said, we're going to do this, and they go, you're nuts. We were not born with wings. Okay. Likewise, a young person who knows more about new technology than you is not smarter than you are, because I just encourage you to show them a rotary phone and say, this is what I have to use. Make a phone call on it. I literally had to tell a millennial child friend of mine that you don't need to press send on a landline phone.
Mm-hmm.
She says,
Mm-hmm.
where's the send? Could not make a phone call. So it's not that one is less educated. It's like, you know what you know, and it's just okay to be comfortable with what you don't know and open yourself up to learning something new.
Well, that's the evolving part. We had when my daughter was growing up, we had an old rotary phone that my aunt had given me because it was like the one my grandmother had. And her friends would come over and all want to call home because they just thought it was fascinating. This is 2011, to put their finger in a number and dial it around and let it go, and it go tick, 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 and then dial the rest of it. It
Yes,
was just, and
yes.
it was fun for them, right? The same way that you might have. I mean, I know people that are, and I kid you not, 11 years old, that know more about computer programming and coding than I will likely ever know. Now, I can make myself feel bad about that and be like, oh gosh, I'm so dumb. I just can't get it. Or I can be like, you know what? That's not really my jam. Like, if I need to learn it, I'm going to learn it. But I'm really
Mhm,
excited that this 11-year-old knows that, because that's his
mhm,
thing. He loves that stuff. So we all have our, I don't know anything about horses. Are you kidding me? You do. And I am
mhm.
really glad that you know about them. I have people tell me all the time, you can pay me to do your job. That's okay. I love it. So we
Mhm.
all have our own special things that we bring to
Good,
the
yeah.
table, and we evolve. And there's nothing wrong with learning about a little bit about our neighbor, no matter what their age is, no
Mhm.
matter what their age is. There's nothing wrong with learning something.
Yeah, Candy does live by that. I love learning new things. And you have this wonderful free, I call it, for me, I call it YouTube University. I try to do a little study every day, but there is another one that you turn me on to, Udemy. Is it Udemy or
You
you
talking about me or
Academy?
Candy?
No, you, Terry.
Oh,
Is
me.
it
Okay.
you,
I
Terry?
was like, what's Candy turn you on to? I want to know. Yes, Udemy. Udemy is a great resource out there that has all sorts of educational platforms, different levels about different topics, and they range anywhere from $9.99, meaning $9.99, to maybe, I don't know, 149 or something, depending on the length of the course. And a
Mhm.
lot of them are very informative, and they're just great ways to learn something new.
Mhm. Okay, let's see. Our friend from Spain, Go Flamenco. If there is a will, there's a way. I never thought I could learn so much about finances and taxes as I have this year. I look back and fall in awe of myself and how far I've come. That is, every time we learn something, it
Mm-hmm.
is, I always say, learning is the fountain of youth. Always learn something new. Joe, right, Devon? I couldn't drive a Model A or T car to save my life. They start different and operate much different than modern cars. But folks from the past can figure today's cars out. Proves we can learn new things all the time.
Absolutely.
I did buy a car that didn't use a key, and it took me the longest time to figure that out. I had to go back in after I bought it and said, "How do you turn this thing on and off?"
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know, but it's like, hey, teach me something. And, so we started with, don't sweat the little things. And I said, and we ended up with basically keep learning, open yourself up.
Changing your perspective. When we have things come up on us, I call them the zingers, the curveballs from left field, the hiccups in life. They're going to be there because life is constantly evolving. And I,
Hmm.
I say this to people often. The question is not how's life treating you, it's how are we treating life.
Ooh, good.
How are we treating life? Because you can have a flat tire and you can go, oh, well, got to get this fixed. And yes, it might be a pain, it might be an inconvenience, But guess what? You got a tire and you got a car and you've probably got a job and you've got other things. So you've got your faculties to get that tire fixed. So change the perspective, you know, be willing, have that moment of, but then let it go.
Mhm.
You know, it's kind of like a burp or a fart. Like you're not going to hang on to it forever, you know, release it, you know, have the moment, release it, and then move on. Don't stink up the rest of your day dwelling
Mhm.
over something that has happened this morning or something that's going to happen a week from now, you know.
Mhm.
Just try to change the perspective. Sometimes it's not always as easy as just snapping your fingers, but if you practice it, and you become vigilant with your dedication to changing your perspective and to evolving yourself,
Mhm.
you can do it. Just like me in the splits. If I tried it and I practiced, can't do it right now. You know, I'd need one of those help I've fallen and can't get up buttons. But if I practiced it every day, I could probably get pretty darn close, if not get there. So
Yeah.
it's just our commitment to self evolving.
All right, Elizabeth, some things can be a pain in the arse, but they aren't the end of the world. Perspective matters. Tim, closing things out today. Amen. Putting things into perspective and keep it moving. Amen. Yes. Well,
Absolutely.
I had a wrench thrown into my day this morning and I could really take it personally, and I'm just not. It turned out okay. And I'm going, all righty, daddy.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right.
So,
It is just a matter of, you know, if we're going to hang on to it, if we get up in the morning thinking, oh gosh, you know, uh, then the brain's going to look, ooh, what can I do to feed that thought?
mhm.
You know, what can I do? You
I
know,
love our peeps. I love our peeps. It's all good, Devon. It's gonna be okay. Yes, don't sweat the small stuff. You're right, Joyce. We're not gonna let the monkey wrenches thrown into our day change the way our engine runs. It's also good. Yeah, starting every day with a gratitude journal makes a difference in the day. A journal at the end of the day, so this is what has been accomplished today. Also a good thing. You guys have a great rest of your day. Check in with me, Devon O'Day at Gmail. Teri, tell them how to get in touch with you.
TeriPugh.com. Easiest way, easy breezy. That's about it. I
Awesome,
mean, they can
awesome.
find us both on Instagram. They can find us both on Facebook. But if you want questions, you want to text, you want to email, you want to call, TeriPugh.com is the easiest way.
All right. Well, it's time to end our broadcast. So you always end it with the same words.
I do. Thank you guys and gals for joining us today. And we so appreciate you very much. And go forward today and increase your peace. And have a great